Thank you very much. And I'm thankful to Dr. Siddharth and RTDC for inviting me to speak. I think people can mute their mic. Then we'll start
To mute their mics, please.
research in ethics. Now, question comes, as the quote says, in civilized life, law floats in the sea of ethics. What it means? It means that law and ethics, they should go together. Actually should go together, but do not. Why? We'll see why it does not go, what are the implications, and so on. So today's title for our discussion is Research Ethics. So our learning objective will be, we'll be discussing what is ethics. We should know what is ethics, why ethics we should practice, which are the areas of concern in research ethics, what are the examples of ethical research violations, what are the ethical codes and principles of ethics, and what are the challenges ahead in research ethics in India, especially we'll discuss in this scenario. First, we should start with what is ethics. You can see one line, the term ethics and morality are closely related. So we can say that moral values we know, and if you know the moral values, what it is also called as moral philosophy, and the discipline when concerned with what is morally good, bad, or morally right or wrong. Next is that the term also applies to any system or theory of moral value and principles. Now, wherever I took ethics classes and lectures, they asked, many people ask me, sir, why we should do ethics? We are a good human being. We do always good. Let me tell you, you may be excellent person. You may be very good person. You may not be causing any harm, but unknowingly also we can cause violation of ethical codes. We'll examine today. So, to whom we should be responding and for why? See, why we should be? Question is to the public for its support. You know, ethics comes in research. So whenever we do any research, we go to the public for its support. So we owe to the public, we owe to the individual research participant because they are a part of the research. Our colleagues and collaborators, they also play a very equal role in any research, whose research may be based on our research. Suppose in a department, I'm doing a research. I have got some findings. I'll ask my colleagues to carry it forward so that more work can be done. So our collaborators and research, our colleagues should be also involved, and funding institution and giving us resources. Well, research ethics only comes when we are doing research. And these days, funding is must. We cannot go on spending money from our pocket for any research. And research institution, universities, our employers for employment, resources, and because their reputation can be affected what we do. I'm sure you will agree with me. Where we work and which universities we represent, if something goes wrong, and tomorrow it is find that we have changed the data, we have changed something, our university will be blamed. And if you are working in some colleges, college will be blamed. If you are working in some other, all name will be tarnished. So research ethics is why it is so important. Then next is that now, as we discussed in the beginning, that research ethics says what is morality. So if you see this, we have to decide and know what is wrong and what is right. There has to be balance. or no? No. People say there has to be balance between right and wrong. No, it doesn't mean that we'll do wrong things. 5 wrong things we'll do and 5 right things we'll do. It will be balanced. No, we have to do only in the ethics what is right. You forget wrong. We cannot afford to do that. I'll give you example why we cannot afford. Then next is that now you see advancement and goals. It is showing a fulcrum where for the advancement of the science, protection and welfare of the right of the human being has to be observed. For example, I'll give one example today's only. All of you are aware what is corona infection. We saw last year there was a COVID infection. So what did we learn? For advancement of the science, because to save human beings from corona, vaccines have come. But at the same time, protection of the subject has to be there. If it is not there, it raises the issue, and people started asking corona vaccine trial and vaccination drive raise the ethical concern. Why? Now, we should be fortunate that India, where billion is the population, at least before corona, nobody was knowing what is trial, what are the ethical principles, and what is on. But once the vaccine came in the market and it was the trial, everyone has learned that there are 3 phases of trial and one has to pass. And since now here we'll ask a question that now vaccination drive is going on, whether it is right or wrong, because it was an ethical issue raised that 3rd phase of trial was not completed and some vaccine were issued. No, but for remember, there has to be balance. If you want to advance the science, and if we can protect the human beings, then we can go ahead. Perhaps the company has to take responsibility if something goes wrong. That's why those who are receiving co-vaccines, they were covered. So this is what is advancement of science and production. If this balance is not maintained, perhaps bad day comes in the history. Coming next is that what are the possible reasons for all this? See, everybody wants to be honest. And nobody can say that reason I can tell you, from 5,000 years, if you see Sushruta, if you see all literatures, even if you see Ramayana, if you see Mahabharata, everywhere ethics was followed. It was the social ethics, warfare ethics, and every ethics was followed. How we can say we do not know ethics? All of us know, but I'll simply say we don't want to follow it. We have some or other excuses. And you'll be surprised to know, India is one country where most of the people do not follow the codes. I'm not telling that other countries do follow. When I'll be quoting examples, this is from other countries, but India, of course, they do not come. What is the reason? Professional pressures. When you join an institution as a faculty, or you join as a college as a student, you are asked to publish papers. Either you publish papers or you perish. Somewhere in some colleges and some universities, and nowadays, at our time, nobody used to bother about this. Those who are interested in research, they used to do, otherwise they used to teaching. But retention of the job, if you don't publish the paper, if you don't come up to the mark, job may not be renewed. Keeping of the peers, then securing grants. People think that if you can get into research, you can get grants from Department of Science and Technology, ICM or other granting agency. And some people are so innovative, they think being first to discovery, all of those shortcuts and wins are worse. So people want name and fame. And some people publish for the sake of publishing because it demands. And some people want to get their name involved with the discoveries. That's why all ethical guidelines are put at the bay. This was one of the reasons. Next is that let us see what are the some areas of research ethics. Number one, research misconduct, falsification, fabrication, and plagiarism. People manipulate image, people manipulate the data. Now, what is the importance of this? Now, I'll take the recent example. If Corona time, if the data would have been manipulated, if falsified result would have been produced, and they would have said that Corona vaccine causes so much damage, nobody would have taken vaccine and people have died. Or other way around, if they would have not told recently, those who have received vaccination first dose, it was told that second dose should be taken after 28 days. But later on, result shows that it has to be taken after 6 weeks. Why? Because accurately data were presented. No data were missed. That's why it has come. Then second is collaborative issues. See, when we collaborate with any institution, ethical guidelines have to be followed. I have seen in my life that two institutions are collaborating. There becomes a misunderstanding. Who will own the data? Who will own the authorship? Who will be the first author? Who will be second author? Who will be third author? So these are issues which has to be sorted out. Then peer review. Suppose I am a good scientist. I am getting journal for reviewing. And when I see a review data, when it comes journal, every data is there, everything is there. I have got chance to see other work. Can I copy it? Can I use it for my PhD students? No. So this is one of the other can be used. Then conflict of interest or obligation. We researchers might be obliged to some companies or some others to give favorable results. Then complexity and funding resources. Complexity ill things and cannot go on, and funding resources, so on. And then you can see animal subject research. We know that, all of us, we know that animals have to be dealt very carefully and there should not be cruelty to the animals. We know. And lastly, we know that there is human research subjects. So these are the basic areas where actually misconduct is being done in the research ethics. Now you can see that next is that research ethics in publication. Now, research ethics in publication is fabrication means making up a data or results, recording or reporting them. Means we make up a data in the results or something and we report. Falsification, all of you know, mean manipulating the research data, material, equipment, process, or changing them so that it suits our needs. Plagiarism means appropriation of other person's idea, process, results, or word without giving appropriate credit. I'll come to his detail afterwards. And research misconduct does not include honest errors or difference of opinion. See, for example, I have a difference of opinion. I say that this is not, this should be there, and I have copied this. It should not be. How we can avoid that? We should not use any other person's data without his consent. For example, I have published a paper in my name. If you use my data and copy my data and title everything and manipulate it, it will fit into fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism all. So one has to be careful. Then examples of plagiarism: misinterpreting someone else's work to your own, copying other students' paper or article from journal or website. Number two is very common in the students. When they are writing thesis for MD, MDS on others, what they do? They take thesis of others, they start copying it, which is wrong totally, and it should not be done. Copying sentence and paragraph without proper citing their resources. So when you copy somebody's data, when he created, at least one should acknowledge that this work has been done by him. If you are quoting my data, you should quote my reference. Now I am going to give you some examples, and which will itself tell you that how data are manipulated. If you see this diagram A and B, if you see the scale in A, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25, 27, difference of 2. And here you see 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And if you see the figure, 1 is looking more significant. Why? Because here scale has been changed so that data could be manipulated. And what happens? Who is the sufferer? Sufferer is population. I'll tell you how. You might have read, you might be knowing that drinking alcohol causes harm. Everybody knows that. I remember around 15 years back, and some companies, they came with data that drinking little bit of alcohol is good for the health, especially brandy in winters. Now, what did they do? They conducted trial in 15 people or 20 people or 30 people and reported data, and this type of figures were given to the public. And public said, yes, it causes a lot of difference. But remember, my dear friends, whether you take wine or you take alcohol or you take anything, alcohols are converted into aldehydes, and aldehydes are harmful to the body. So gist is, whether you consume alcohol or not, if you consume, it is harmful to the body, it causes liver cirrhosis in the long run. So this is the one of the example of data manipulation. It is called as fabrication. Then second, you can see these images. You can see A, B. You can see in first original image, other you are seeing manipulated image. You can see some are missing. So it is actually showing electrophoresis and biochemistry, where data has been manipulated and it is shown that it is present to show significance. So you can see image can be also manipulated. You may ask how. It can be manipulated by cloning the image. You can manipulate this. Next, if you see, I'll give you some example. In the past, why? Because people say that all research ethics violation started in 1980 onwards. I do not agree with that, because Isaac Newton might have adjusted calculation to fit his observation. It was a big news. Then Mendel's result with the pea plants were clearer than the observed experimentally, indicating that he might have changed the data. They were supposed to be pioneer in research. We were reading the Newton's law and we were reading the Mendel's. So now you can imagine, for the first slide, that how if you change the data, how it affects your country, how it affects your
मैंने अभी अपना कैमरा बंद किया है.
sorry. Please keep quiet. Then Robert Millikan.
चलो.
I'm quoting another example from
रेनू.
research paper describing the charge of an electron,
cover है
failed
उनका.
to mention that he eliminated some data points. So these are the 3 burning examples where you can see that data were manipulated. Next comes, this is the other practice which is followed, that it is called as salami slicing. Means those who are non-vegetarian, they might be knowing that salami is the type of meat when one meat is taken and it is sliced into many. Means when one paper is taken and it's sliced into many paper to fit our needs, it is called as salami slicing. As you see in the diagram, one big paper has been turned into 4 or 5 papers. It is totally ethically wrong. Why it is wrong? Because same data is presented in 4 by different names. So it is wrong. Unfortunately, it is done. You will see maximum that those who present an abstract in the proceedings of a journal, same paper they present again. And same paper, it comes in the different journals as a full paper. which has been published as a abstract in other proceeding. Why it is wrong? See, what ethics says that when you are publishing it again, the abstract as a full paper, you should tell the editorial board that you have used the same data for publication earlier as an abstract. If they agree, then only you can present. Otherwise, that abstract cannot be represented. I'm sure people will know that and people will follow it. Then peer review. Peer review is manuscript, as we discussed earlier, reviewing manuscript which could help the reviewer's own research, how to protect our intellectual property during review process. I have sent a very good journal. I have sent my publication and the reviewer feels that this data is good, I should copy it. Can it be done? No, we have to think. Till it is not done, we have not taken, no government and no other people have taken some steps, which Dr. Mehra will be teaching you tomorrow on intellectual property rights. But we have to look in this direction also. And here you can see, can a graduate student read manuscript on the behalf of professor? Unfortunately, it is being done in many institutions where students go into conferences, present the data of the professor. Professor goes into conferences, present the data of the student. Is it morally correct? No. What is ethics? Judgment between right and wrong. So it is not correct. One individual should present their own data. Why? Because reason is, suppose I have done experiment, I'll be knowing detail. Guide may not know so many things, but he may pretend to know, but many things he may not know. Next. Now, other concern is management of access to the data. Now, this comes when there is a collaborative research. People ask, who should own the data? Who can most use the future? Suppose you are carrying one lab, you have done work, other lab you want to go. People will ask you that can lab notes material be taken off-site? What responsibility do lab and workshop student assistant have in documenting the lab work? My answer is that before such collaborative research are started, there should be clear understanding to who will own the data, who will present the paper, who will have the authorship, and who will have. For example, I'll tell you, in my 43 years exactly of the teaching experience and research, what I have seen that people taking student thesis and giving their name as a first, as a guide, then giving name of the students. It is totally wrong ethically. Reason is, it is a work of student, not work of guide. So student name should be first and guide's name should be second. And then some people, to place their bosses, you will see some publication 10 names. Whole department's name is present. No. It should be given first author, second author, third author, those who have really contributed. So pleasing and ethics and morality will not go together. Then a situation where a conflicting result comes, a person interest from one's professional and obligation. So here you can see conflict of interest. So conflict of interest is where, for example, I can give you that it has, I think, held up, stuck. Okay, let me see. When most direct example, I'll give you two examples. Direct example as well as, because the name is little difficult to understand, so I have given two examples, direct and indirect. Most direct example is being paid to something which is untrue. A company is paying me. I'm working there. And they say, when you do research, you project this data. It is an interest of conflict. And indirect example is knowing that if you say something positive about company, they will give you grant and you'll be more likely to get grant of them in the future also. This is the conflict of interest. Means that, in other words, that you should disclose your financial interest if you are doing some research. And ghostwriting and ghost management is the terminology which was used, especially in medical colleges. I must say that what is done, student, they will not write thesis, then guide will write thesis. And in other colleges where I have seen, guides do take money also for writing thesis. So this has to be totally discouraged. I don't agree with you, this ghost writing and ghost management. This should not be there. And actually, students should learn how to write. What is the reason? A student may say that, sir, I have taken help from my senior. He is helping us, he is teaching me. But student forgets. William Wordsworth once saying, the child is the father of man. Same student will tomorrow become guide. Will he tell his student that I'll go to my guide and ask? No, he has to guide. So ghost writing and ghost management of the thesis and any work should be stopped for the research of the benefit of the student as well as the faculty. Then example for not following research ethics. Now, these are the examples which are, some of you might not be very happy to see this, but I have quoted from history. All of you know that history repeats itself. So let us see examples what mistakes have been committed in the history of humankind and code of ethics has come. Number one, hepatitis trial. Today, all of you know that hepatitis A, B, and others, we go, we have to take injection. But do you know that 700 children were purposefully infected with the disease? And researchers observed various symptoms in each child, and ultimately child they died. Were they not having a right to survive? They had right to survive, but it was overlooked. So it was a gross negligence of ethics. Second, mustard gas experiment. This goes in the history in 1939 and 1945, where experiment was conducted and subjects were deliberately exposed to mustard gas, and they actually infected totally chemical burns, and victim wounds were there tested to find out more effective treatment for mustard gas burn in the patient. It was a very painful process, but it goes in the history like that. Next, Nazis experiment in the hypothermia. It is one of the famous where medical has to follow the ethics. Goal of this type of experiment was to determine the long would survive, pilots will survive parachuting into the cold sea. And prisoners, mostly, you will surprised to know that mostly they conducted where the people, those who were financially very poor, and prisoners were used, and prisoners were submerged into the tank filled with the cold water until they died. Do you think to know hypothermia, it was the experiment was correct? No. You can see this disturbing photograph. One person is crying with agony and other is dead. High altitude experiment were performed. Those who do not, high altitude, it is high altitude is beyond the certain feet, actually 15,000, 16,000 feet, more than that, where if they are ejected from the planes, will they survive in the low pressure? Because as we go up and up, oxygen pressure falls. And these people who do not die immediately, they were put under water until they died. So was it ethical? You can see the faces, which has gone down the history that ethics were not followed. So if this thing carried on, especially in dental sciences also, I like to quote one example. I was telling Dr. Madhurika before the starting. In dental caries, there is an example that people never knew in 19th century beginning what is the dental caries. So that time there was anesthetics were not developed. Lignocaine, what they used, xylocaine was not there. And Priestley had not discovered the laughing gas and so on. So what has happened, what they did, they gave high sucrose diet to the people. so that they can develop the dental caries. And then they were examined. You can imagine that if one dental tooth decays and there is a caries, how much painful it is. So after seeing all this, all the professional association, government bodies, universities, they formed an ethical code. What is ethical code? And ethical codes, they address honesty. All of you will agree that one has to strive for honesty in all scientific communication, honesty in reporting data, honesty in reporting results, honesty in methodology, what you're following. Because when you do experiment, methodology does not end with your experiment when you submit thesis or PhD. One should be able to replicate your findings. This should be the must. Why replicate findings? Because today I have discovered this causes this. Other has to can confirm your finding. There can be a variation of 5 to 10%, but no. Then procedures, publication status, not fabricating, falsifying, misrepresenting data, not deceiving colleagues and granting agencies or public. So one has to be very honest is what he is reporting data. And I have already told about coronavirus that what data can play part. Then objectivity. Objectivity is the approach of proceeding on any matter by relying on reality and not by acting on imaginary views or personal likes or dislikes. Or we say that describe object as it is, not what we think it is. So data should be presented, and what we present, we should present as such, not as what we think it can be, called as objectivity. Then you can see that partiality, then formulation point, analysis, interpretation of data, and testimony, it should be all perfect. And researcher must disclose what I was telling you earlier, that any personal things which are in financial interest, he has got a particular in project or something, he must disclose before starting a project. Why? Because if he has financial interest in the project, he may mislead. He may try to falsify, fabricate, and misinterpret the data for his own benefit. So it should be avoided. Next is integrity. All of you know that research involves integrity. Keep promises, agreement, and act with sincerity. Carefulness. Avoid carelessness, errors, and negligence. Suppose you are repeating you are representing a very good data, and something you forget, or you calculate wrong result, whole human society will suffer. If you are carrying some other experiment, they will suffer. So it has to be kept very carefully. One has to define it, and one has to be careful, and one has to be very open in sharing data, results, ideas, and resources, and they should be open to criticism. It is not like that somebody criticizes, tomorrow one goes and changes the data. Then honor the patents. This will be told to you by Dr. Mehra. And copyrights. I'll just cut it short because honoring patents is very important. And what copyright? I have got a book. If you copy my book and don't acknowledge how it will be, I'll be trying to sue you. So honoring patents. Then do not use unpublished data. Give credit where credit is due, and do proper acknowledgement and credit all contributors, not for the namesake to please your boss or to please your guide, but those who are really involved, they should be done. Then I'll give you one example of how people miss the bus. You know, turmeric has been used in India from Ayurveda's time. And in wound healing, when we were young, our mother used to say when he used to get injured, that turmeric powder she used to apply, and it serves as an antiseptic. You know, patent was with America because our people failed to find patent. So it was a between CSIR. it was in CSIR and other, there was a big fight. Now, finally, it has been come to India. So this is the one example. Second example I will give you. All of you know basmati rice is grown in the Punjab, but patent USA was having. Can you believe why? Why the Indian people missed the bus? They missed the bus because we are lazy. We were late. Nobody expected that which are grown in our country, which we have done it, other will file patent. So these are two burning. There are plenty of examples. There is no time for that, but I can tell you. Then confidentiality. Confidentiality is very important for doctors as well as engineers and in public relationship everywhere. Military secret, you might be reading everywhere that military secrets are sometimes disclosed by people for the money and country suffers. And when a doctor reveals the data of the patient, many times, 2 cases I can remember, then when wife's data was revealed to the husband, there was a divorce. So confidentiality is the main secret and it should be maintained, and there should be responsible publication. Many people publish for their own career, but it should be published for the advancement in research and to know, not for own career, and one should avoid duplicate publication. One should be responsible mentoring to the students. And one thing you remember, when you are good, only your student will be good. So you should mentor the student very properly. You should respect your colleagues and you should have social responsibility what you are doing. Strive to promote good, prevent and mitigate social harm through research and public education and education. Then you should not discriminate between people to people, that he's from north, he's from south, and nowadays it is less, but earlier it was too much. Those who are from south, north or east, they will see that, but now it is not there so much, but it's still there. We have to think that we should not discriminate in the research finding and maintain your competence, and one should know the legal laws of the country where you are doing the research, especially when you are working in the foreign. And then animal care, you should respect the animals, and unnecessary people designed animals you should not do, and you should human right protection, you should do what I've shown you earlier, that human rights is to be protected. And if not protected, there is no use of following ethics, because when we are studying ethics, we should do that. And we can show the human rights, and humans should not suffer. That's why these days, earlier it was consent, now it has come informed consent. And all those who are in the trial, they should have liberty to go out of the trial anytime without any punishment. And secondly, if any harm is caused by the trial and others, people should be compensated. All of you might have received BCG vaccination. If you see your right hand, you'll see 3 marks of BCG vaccination. Do you know? It was held in 1938 to 40 in Chennai. And that time, trial was conducted and BCG injection was given and source developed. By the time the project was over, nobody took care. It has happened in the history of India itself. So one has to do it very properly, that when such comes, the interest has to be followed. Number 3, what are the challenges ahead in India? Though we have ethical committees in India, have involved, but I'm very sorry to say it's not hurt universities, it will not hurt individuals, that it is being a mere rubber stamps for approval of protocols to efficiently functioning accredited ethical committees. So till the ethical committees are just rubber stamps to pass any protocols, we cannot do justice to the ethics. But it is, when I was a student, there was no ethical committee. But nowadays, ethical committees have done. Indian government, various universities, in Sharda University, ourselves, we have everything. Now we are taking care. But still there are some colleges where you tell the face, I'll tell you the ethical rules is followed. You give, mera wo pass kar dena, they will pass it in ethical committee. Still, it is followed in some places. I won't tell you the names. So it is a challenge, number one. Number two, don't quote me for this. Ethical challenges. Why? If you remember my first slide, second slide, third slide, I told that publication for promotion and ethics cannot go together. If you go to United States, all practicing physicians, they work part-timely. They come and take classes and they are involved in research. But it is not in India. What happens? A lecturer goes into the class morning and daily, he teaches for 8 hours. What he'll do? Research in the college. Nil. What he'll do? He will pilgrimise. What he'll do next? Manipulate the data. So what is required is, if you want to follow the ethics in India or any other developing countries or any developed countries, whatever example I have shown you from developed countries only, not underdeveloped or developing countries, they have to follow ethics and ethical guidelines. And it can only be followed when we know ourselves. And then thinking about research ethics can't make you a good scientist. If you only think that you are a good research ethics, I have told you so many things, and you know this is the ethics, you cannot be good scientist. Because people say that, sir, you have to motivate us. Study of research ethics can offer a map to the ethical issues so that you recognize them when you encounter them. But it cannot teach you. You have to use your own logics to see the ethics. It can't solve the problems you might have, but it is very helpful to have advanced warning before the pulse line. It is true. Next is bottom line. Think about ethical components, as rules give very little guidance to tricky situations. Am I right about this? Because if learning about research ethics cannot motivate one to do always good thing, I don't agree. Because motivation, if you ask me to motivate my PhD student to follow ethical guidelines, I can only motivate him if he is motivated himself. So what is important? Somebody asked me, what is motivation? If you are a guide, you are a student, people will come to you, your students will come to you. Sir, kindly motivate us. We are missing the motivation. My dear friends, first one should get motivated and know what motivation has to be done. Then only other can be motivated. I'll give you an example. Everyone has to be motivated daily, because motivation is just like soap, which is applied in the morning before bathing. But once you take bath, soap goes off. Next morning, you have to apply again. So motivation is good. One has to motivate, but he has to be motivated continuously. With these few words, what I have discussed you with around 45 minutes or 50 minutes, I'm sure I was able to tell you what is ethics and what ethical guideline should be followed. But last word is that nobody can teach you ethics what it is. You have to decide yourself what is right, what is wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for a very interesting presentation. So we have few questions in the chat
Yeah,
box.
please.
So Ajay Bhoos Reddy wants to know, can there be a waiver of consent in research?
Pardon?
Can there be a waiver of consent in research?
No, what he wants to ask exactly.
I'll just, can you just, Ajay Bhoos Reddy, can you just...
Because when he say waiver,
yes,
it is a very open field. It can be anything. So he should be very specific what he wants to know.
Yeah, he just unmuted himself.
Yeah, please.
Mr. Ajay,
Sir, I think he's meaning when the consent is not required.
Okay.
In which
consent,
cases the consent from the patient will not be required for research. I think that's what he means, waiver.
no, see, whether we do any research or not, consent is required. Whether it is harmful or not, because when we do certain thing or manipulation, how we know it is not harm? For example, I'll give you one example. Suppose my friend comes to me and tells me that kindly take my blood pressure. And when I'm taking his blood pressure, he has a heart attack. Does it not mean his friends might say that you were taking pressure, something had happened, you have done? So consent has to be there.
Written
Well,
consent, informed consent.
Informed consent has to be there when actually it doesn't happen, Dr. Siddharth, in India. But for every procedure, there should be informed consent. For example, if you go for extraction, and patient may not have lied, he might have told that he is not on the aspirin drugs and others. If there is no written consent, there is a bleeding, he dies. Then
It should be consent should be specific to the procedure.
Yeah, every procedure, every written, there should be consent. Otherwise,
Yes.
because people will drag to the court. I'll give
Yes,
you one
sir.
example. That when I was in Mangalore, Manipal, when I'll not name the company, then first time mosquito repellent, smoke came, and they were, first in Kerala, they were issued some companies that this mosquito repellent smoke you put in the house. So I wrote an article, the put case. So but only thing what I did wrong was that I told that this fume made by this company. So which I have missed. So where we learned, and Dr. B.M. Hegde also got same problem for telling something. So one has to be very clear that when ethical issues are there, one has to be very clear, because nowadays for small things, they go to the court.
So consent should be basically for every procedure.
Every procedure. Because see, even if you are giving a small cut, you don't know what will happen. He might have taken some drugs.
Correct, sir.
Any more questions, please?
Does it answer his question? Madhurima asked.
So I've just messaged him. He
Yeah,
has
yeah.
Somebody is asking, what
Yes,
about
yes.
ethical issues regarding secondary data taken from database? See, if you are taking a data from secondary database for meta-analysis, there is no harm, but you should quote the reference. You should quote it without quotation, and you should not change the data. How about consent regarding secondary date? What is secondary date? I don't know.
Data, it must be data, sir.
So it must be data. I think there's a
Data. So I told
Data.
secondary data, consent has to be there. And if they agree, see, for example, I'll tell you, Dr. Siddharth, I'm author of Best and Taylor. So when I used to there, because it was published 35 years back, so I had to write to Best and Taylor to use their diagrams.
Correct, sir. Yes.
So
And give him acknowledgement also.
Acknowledgement also. And part of the royalty goes to them, Best and Taylor. So it is a question of that, which honestly, if you see, there is a mushrooming of books, whether it's medical, dental, engineering. What people do, they change the figure. If cell is
Copy
round,
paste.
they
Cut,
make
copy
it
paste.
square. But if somebody is nobody cares. But if they are sincere, they can be put in the legal issues. Any more questions, please?
Yes, sir. We have one more question from Gitanjali. She
Ah.
wants to know if she has presented a poster in a conference and the abstract is published in conference proceedings. Is it unethical to publish the full paper in a journal?
Yeah, she can publish the paper in the journal, but only she has to take care that she has to send abstract to them, publisher, and say that this has been published there and this I want to republish. If some journals, they do agree, some journals, they do not agree. But otherwise, it will be called as, manipulation and data, and you can be, what I told is salami slicing. It is not slicing, the fabrication, it is not. But what people do, they present it again and again, same findings. So it is twice presentation cannot be done. She has to send abstract. she has to send everything to the full detail where she presented and what she do. One more big question has come. Sir, we must do when the student do not work any project letter and they complain the authorship. How we deal with the sir? Earlier they do not participate and work. But see, this is the most horrible condition for the research workers, and especially those who are guides, if I'm right. And then what happens? I think Dr. Gitanjali, somebody has asked me that influence others to claim their authorship in the published work. Authorship is always given after knowing what is the contribution. I'll give you one example. I am working with a person. I have contributed for the idea. Only you project on that. My author's name cannot be, my name cannot be on first. But person who has conceived the idea, who has worked it, and who has actually worked and who knows about it, he'll be first. So, and especially it happens in the student cases that guides, what I told you earlier, that guides leave the name of their name first. I've seen in Sharda University also, I don't want to mention the department. And earlier, 1.5 years back, I've seen, and guide name, student name comes later, and sometimes student names also forgotten. So I think it's total unethical. Whether when I asked them, they said, sir, we had helped the student. Fine, you have written thesis. What if I have purposefully included the ghost thesis? Ghost writing. This is the ghost writing, where guide writes for the student. In that cases also,
Yes.
if it comes, first name of student has to be given, not guide.
Because the student has done the study.
Exactly.
Yes.
See, for example, if I do any study, those who built Taj Mahal, they have built Taj Mahal. Akbar cannot say that he has built Taj Mahal. Now also. So it has to go along that. Any other questions, please?
That's all, sir. That's all.
Yes, COP guideline of authorship is there. You can read it. Now I think time is ending. Dr. Mandal will be waiting. And you can have my email ID. I can send you guidelines, COPD guidelines, little modified one. Now, second question is, if there are 10 students and journals do not accept, I have seen paper with the 15 authors. Yeah. And usually what you should do, friend, that Munaza, what you should do is, you should approach a journal where they take more than 10 to 12 authors. But I'm talking you about 15 years back. Now I don't know, because recently I have not given as such any document. But usually what I understand, for more than what you should do, that decide that who has given more work, more. And it is not necessary to please every student. Those who have contributed most, give their name first as per. Because
Sir,
I've seen, yeah,
Yes, sir.
because I've seen that some faculty, I should not, I'm very open to that. Please do not quote me. To please the student for the feedback form, they put the name of the student.
Yeah.
So this should be avoided. I'm very clear about that.
Sir, as the Dental Council of India has given certain rules for publication, and they have named the number of authors which maximum will get points.
Yeah, that is.
We have guidelines. The Dental Council has given us guidelines.
See,
If
actually,
first author, second author, third author, how many points they should get.
exactly. And actually, nowadays, one can be second author, one can be correspondent author also, one can be main author also. So
It
there
depends on the type of the article. Original research, the Dental Council says that all four authors can get the equal number of points.
exactly. So actually, it depends from journal to journal.
Yes.
Anything else?
That's all, sir. We don't have any more questions.
So thank you, Dr. Siddharth, for
Thank
inviting me.
you so much for a wonderful presentation, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So now I would like to invite Our second speaker for the day will be taking up topic writing and publication of a research paper. So our second speaker for the day is Professor Sushanta Kumar Mandal. Let me just introduce you all to him first. So Professor Sushanta Kumar Mandal has received his BE degree in electrical engineering from Jalpaiguri Government Engineering College, West Bengal in 1993. He did his MS and PhD degree from IIT Kharagpur in 2002 and 2008 respectively. He has over more than 19 years of teaching and industry experience in reputed institutions like AIIT University, Indian University Bhubaneswar, and Sharda University Greater Noida. He has guided 6 PhD and 30 MTech theses, and several are pursuing PhD under his guidance. He has published more than 70 research.
नहीं पूरा पेपर टेबल के साथ भेजना है तभी अपलोड होगा वो.
I think someone is speaking. Can I just request? To continue, he has published more than 70 research papers in reputed national and international journals and conferences. Currently, he is working as a professor in electronics and communication engineering and is currently Associate Dean Research at Sharda University. He has also served Sharda University as Associate Dean Academic Affairs and Director IQAC. So we welcome you, sir.
Very good afternoon, all of you.
Good afternoon.
So thanks for the invitation to present topics. And I think Professor Tripathi has already given a very good lecture. I will just give a lecture on how to write and publish a good research paper. Because you have, as a researcher, you have to write and you have to publish your papers. So based on that, I will give a detailed how to write a good papers and where to publish and how to publish. Yeah, I think the slide is visible to all of you.
It is visible, sir.
Yeah, fine. Sure. So the first slide you can see, they always keep in mind that your published paper is a permanent record of your research, and that will be your passport to your community. The area where you work, the research area you are working, and you are publishing the papers, and it will be permanent in nature. It will be somewhere in printed form or in digital form or like that. And it will be used in futures also. So it is a permanent record of your research, and your research community or academic community will know you based on your research papers. What are your personal reason for publishing? Why you are going to publish? Just to get a PhD degree, as your PhD ordinance is saying that you have to publish 2 or 3 journal papers or conference papers like that. Or if you want to get funds, because whenever you will apply for a research, you will submit a research proposal to external funding agency. Yeah, they will go through your research papers, what work you have done, so that they can give you the fund. Or for your promotion also in academic career, suppose you are like assistant professor, you want to get promoted to the associate professor, so the performance appraisal there, your publication will get some marks or what. Whatever be the reason for your publication, if you submit your research paper, however, editors, reviewers, and the research community, they don't consider these reasons when assessing your work. When the reviewer will review your research work, You will not think whether you are you are doing it for your PhD, whether you are doing it for your research proposal, or whether you want for your promotion. They will just consider the quality of the work. Now, the things of what to publish. If you see here, you have done lot of work. Now you have to find what should I publish. It will be new and original results or methods. It might be a new concept, new ideas, and based on you have got some good result, which is novel kind of things, and you have developed some novel methodology which will advance the knowledge and understanding in your research field or a certain scientific field. So reviews, the second one is like reviews or summaries of a particular subject or field. These are the review papers. So the first one is a contributory paper. If you see, if you have given some new contribution to your research community, in the academic community, that will be a contributory paper. The other one is the review papers. You have done a lot of research for several years. Now you are summarizing all the research work which has been done in that particular area or subject, and you are submitting a review papers. Now, don't consider to publish, just see these things, these are very important, results with lack of scientific interest. Whether your results will attract other researchers, then only you should publish, otherwise don't go. If it is outdated work, you have to think that whether your work is outdated one or not. If there is a duplication of work already published, if similar kind of works already published and there is no newness in your work compared to the others' work, then don't publish it. Or incorrect data or conclusion not supported by the data, like that. Incorrect data or conclusions not supported by your data. So you need a strong manuscript to present your contributions to the scientific community. So you should have to write a strong manuscript. We'll see how to write the strong manuscript. So what it is, the strong manuscript, it should have a good content, which will be novel in nature, which will be useful, and it must be exciting. Yeah. Then next will be the good presentation. It should be clear, presented, and logically constructed. The structure will be a logical structure. Yeah, we'll see those things. Then reviewers and editors are able to grasp the scientific significance easily. You have to write the manuscript in such a way, if the reviewer will read it, or the editor in the very beginning, they should understand what is your contribution, what is the significance of your research work. So editors, reviewers, and readers all want to receive well-presented manuscript. Otherwise, simply they will reject it after reading the abstract portion. So what types of articles should I choose for publication? There are full articles in journals. If you have seen, there are full articles which are a substantial, complete, and comprehensive piece of research work. They are like that, more than 6 pages to 10 pages like that. And it should support everything. Then where you have to add, is my message sufficient for a full article? You have to decide whether your work is sufficient to submit as a full article, because full article will be reviewed very rigorously. Yeah, because they will go every details. There are some other times, letters or brief communication. Letters, this is for the quick communication. Suppose you have done some research work and you got some exciting result and you want to communicate that results to your research community. So you should go through this letters or brief communication. Then generally they takes 2 months, 1 month or 2 months maximum of like that. But full articles it requires, depends on journal to journal. Journal to journal, yeah. So sometimes it requires 6 months, sometimes it requires 3 months or even 1 year. Now comes to the review papers, as I already told, that summarize the recent development of the specific topics, often submitted by it, or it will be often submitted by invitation. So before writing, you should gather key information. First one is to find out what topics are exciting in your research field, because you know your research field. So you can see those things, that which are the most downloaded, which topics are most cited, and which are most shared. These are some example it is given, you can see those things. Then find the trends of your subject area. Yeah. So you have to see keep informed of advanced in the field through journal alerts. Like PubMed, for example, they show number of papers per keyword per year of publication. Now evaluate with journals which journal is right for your manuscript. Suppose you are going to write one manuscript. So in which journal you want to publish it? There are 26,000 to 30,000 journals. So which journal is appropriate for you? That you have to find out. The good journal like Impact Factor, we'll see what is Impact Factor. Then the SGR, H index, you might be knowing those things, that H index of the paper, then journal, and then some comparison you can get it through the Scopus also. So find out more about the journal, who are the editors, guide for authors. You should go through the journals and you should see who the editors and what are the information given for the author. Then you will get some idea whether this journal is suitable for you or not. Because those journals which are publishing the papers in your areas will be more suitable for publication. They will be much more interested to evaluate, the reviewers will be interested to evaluate your research paper. Now select your audience and choose the right journal, what I said. Select the best journal for submission. Getting a research paper published can be a challenge. Risks that come from submitting a paper to a journal that's not the right fit will be the rejection. If you have not chosen the right journal, then there will be a risk. There will be a rejection because the reviewer may not be interested for your work. You can simply say that this is not within the scope of the works, or adding months to publication, which is slowing your career progress. Now look at your references. This will help you narrow your choices. Whenever you are writing your thesis or writing reports, you should go to the references, where those reference papers are published. Then you should go through those journals and find out which journals are the best. Or you can use the journal finder tools like Elsevier, elsevier.com authors, helps inexperienced authors to select the correct journals. This will also help authors working in multidisciplinary fields identify possible journals, highlights journals that offer open access options also. Now investigate all these candidates' journals to find out aims and scope of the journal. Whenever you will go through the journals, you should first study the aims and scope, whether your research field is coming under their scope or not. What are the different types of articles that are accepted by the journals? Who are the readers of the journal society? And what is the speed of publication from submission to how much time it takes? Yeah, from submission to publication. You can go through the different journal papers where you can find that journal submission received, then revised, and then accepted. So you can find the total turnaround time from the submission to the publication. Now, then there are another point you have to just think. One is the subscription versus open access, whether you will go for the subscription type or you will go for the open access. Yeah, because open access, they will ask the open access processing charge, because they will keep it to their server free of cost to the audiences, but the author has to give the processing charge. But for subscription type of, there will be no publication charge. And you have to go through the current topics. So go through the abstracts of the recent publications. So you need not to go through all the details of the journals. If you just go through the abstracts, you can easily find out whether this journal is suitable for your manuscript or like that, research field or not. Now, what is impact factor? The impact factor that gives the quality of the journal, which journal is better, which journal is good or best, like that. So just example, you can see it is generally calculate 2 years citation. Like if we are calculating the impact factor for 2013, it is giving that the previous 2 years, 2011 and 2012 papers which are published, how much they are cited. So the citation 2013 to publication 2011 and 2012. By the number of publication in 2011 and 2012. As for example, if it is given that if the number of citations for 2011 and 2012 papers, it is 600 citations, total citation for these 2 years for 600, and the total publication, the journal papers published 140 plus 160, then it will be simply 300. So the impact factor is 2. Most of the journals impact factor are less than 2. If the journal impact factor is more than 4, you can say that the journal paper is a very, very good. Yeah. So be aware that the impact factor tells you how often the paper is a journal are cited on an average. It does not give an indication about a single paper. It is the total paper published during the 2 years. So varies considerably per scientific discipline. Now select the best journals again. Ask help from, if you are a PhD student, then you can ask help from your supervisor and colleagues. Generally, the supervisors are the co-author of your work. So your supervisor has at least co-responsibility for your work. So he will guide you. Make sure all co-authors agree to this list. But whatever you have found out that these are the journals we want to submit it. So all the co-authors should be agreed. Don't gamble by submitting your manuscript to more than one journal at a time. At a time, you should not submit. Generally, what happened? Sometimes the students or scholars, they used to submit it 2-3 journals. They are thinking that if one journal they reject it, at least some other cases I can get the advantage that it will accept. But the problem is that it will be recognized by the journals. If you have submitted in a good journal, yeah, there will be the predatory journal. If you publish it, that is a different case. But if you are submitting into a good journals, they will know it. So international ethics standards prohibit multiple simultaneous submissions, and editor do find it. That is the things I told you, that editors do find it, and they will do. If you believe us, I can say that they will do it. So don't go for multiple submission. So this is that you have to find out that how the top journals, like you can say Nature, Science, Lancet, NEJM, they are the very top rated journal. In engineering fields also, IEEE, they are the very good journals are there. Yeah. So first you have to find specific top journals, you have to find out. Then there will be other field specific journals and national journals. So it's not like that you will go downwards. Don't go for lowest level journals. Try to find out mediocre to higher level. So read the guide for authors again and again. There will be every journal, they will give you guide for authors or information to authors like that. So stick to the guide for author in your manuscript, even in the first draft. In the end, it will save your time and also the editors both. Editors and reviewers do not like wasting time on poorly prepared manuscript. Be very careful of that. Editors and reviewers do not like wasting time on poorly prepared manuscript. It is a sign of disrespect. They simply reject it, and within 1 or 2 days you will get the decision. Now, language is important. Save your editor and reviewers the trouble of guessing what you mean. Yeah, you should write in such a way, some simple language, so that the reviewers as well as the editors should understand what you are saying. So this is one example complaint from an editor. This paper fell well below my threshold. I refuse to spend time trying to understand what the author is trying to say. Besides, I really want to send a message that authors cannot submit a substandard paper to us and expect us to fix it. My rule of thumb is that if there are more than 6 grammatical errors in the abstract, then I don't waste my time carefully reading the rest. So it will just, so be very careful of that thing. For grammatical mistakes, for language, otherwise at the initial stage, the rejection will be there. So write with clarity, objectivity, accuracy, and brevity. So key to success scientific writing is to be alert common errors, sentence construction, incorrect tenses, inaccurate grammar, and spelling mistake. Be careful of these 4 points. Sentence construction, it should not be a large sentence, so that it will be the reviewer will be confused what you are going to say. You should not write with incorrect tenses also. So just give concentration on the grammatical and the spelling mistakes. You can see here, write direct and short sentences, more professional looking. One idea or piece of information per sentence is sufficient. Avoid multiple statements in one sentence. They are confusing to the reader. Just for an example, you just see that things. What not to do. That sentence is saying that if it is the case, intravenous administration should result in that emulsion has higher intravenous administration, retention, concentration, but which is not in accordance with the result, and therefore the more rational interpretation should be the SLN with mean diameter of 46 nanometer is greatly different from emulsion with mean diameter of 65 nanometer in entering tumor. Namely, it is probably difficult for emulsion to enter and exit from tumor blood vessels as freely as SLN, which may be caused by the fact that the tumor blood vessels aperture is smaller. God knows who will understand this large sentence. Yeah, so you should break this sentence into several sentences, and it should be very short and direct so that the reviewer will not break their head to understand what you are going to mean. They will not waste their time. Now come to the article structure. How your article structure will be like this. We have said this is a general structure of a research article. First will be title, then abstract, then keywords. All of you are writing the research paper, so you might be knowing these things. So main text, it comes second part, main body is introduction, methods, results, and discussion. And the last portion will be coming conclusion, acknowledgement, references, and if any supplementary data is required. These are the structure of the research article. You have to start with from the title and you have to end with the references. Because these first three are also important: title, abstract, and keyword. Make it easy for indexing and searching. It should be informative, attractive, and effective. We'll come to one by one. So this process will be like this: title and abstract, then conclusion, introduction, methods, results, discussion, and the figures and tables. You can go like these things. Now title, come to these things. A good title should contain the fewest possible words that adequately describe the contents of a paper and should identify main issues of the paper. The title should tell what is inside in your paper. It will be the reflection of your content inside the article. So it should emphasize on the main issues what you are going to present. So it should be concise, accurate, unambiguous, specific, and complete in sense. Yeah. So here there is some example it is given like that. Action, like original title, it was an action of antibiotics on bacteria. Now the revised title is, the title should be a catchy one, eye-catchy one. First, it should be attractive and eye-catchy one. Exciting also. Like here, action of antibiotics on bacteria. What it is given? Inhibition of growth of Mycobacterium tuberculosis by streptomycin. Now you can easily differentiate these two titles. Here, action of antibiotics on bacteria. How could you know what type of antibiotics it is and on which bacteria it will be acting? This is nothing informative. So it is not saying anything about the research, what it is done. So, but here in the text, you can say inhibition of growth of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Here you can see that Mycobacterium tuberculosis, they have given that bacteria, and as well as this antibiotic streptomycin, they have clearly mentioned. So this, the reviewer will easily understand what is inside your, or the reader will easily understand what is inside your paper. So similarly, the other examples have been given. Next, come to the keyword. These are most important also, because your papers will be searched based on your keywords. In an electronic word, keyword determine whether your article is found or not. Because you will search the paper, if your keyword is matching with them, then your paper will be found by the researcher. So avoid making them too general words. If you make it too general, then there will be thousands of papers. So your papers may be missed. Don't make it too narrow so that nobody will search that things. So that nobody will ever search for it. So these keywords are most important. So look at the keywords of articles relevant to your manuscript. Play with these keywords and see whether they return relevant papers, neither too many nor too few. You can decide the keywords and then you can search it in the Google or some Google Scholars like that and see how many papers it is retrieving. Search for your keywords online. Would readers find your article using them? Now comes to the second one, abstract. This tells readers what you did and the important findings. This is the advertisement for your article. This is simply one paragraph, mainly several sentences of one paragraph, 50 to 250 words maximum. And it should be concise, accurate, and specific. And a clear abstract will strongly influence if your work is considered further. Because the reader will just read the abstract first and then they will go inside. If the abstract is giving a good result like that, exciting results or exciting methodology or like that, then only they go inside of that. So the abstract will give you what you have done and what are the main findings. These are the things. So you can write it like first, thumb rule is like that. 1-2 sentence, what you are aiming to achieve, what your papers is presenting like that. This paper presents of like these things. Then how you have materials and methods, what are the techniques you have used like that, or materials you have used. Then you have to give the what findings you have got, results you have got, and the importance of that results. That is the conclusion and discussion. So you have to write those things in a very few sentences, like 2 to 4 to 6 to 7, like 5 to 6, 7 sentences, maximum of 200 to 250 words. So the journal to journal, it varies. They generally specify that your abstract should be written within this number of words. Now come to the introduction. Puts your data into perspective. This is the place to convince readers that you know why your work is relevant and also for them. Here you have to give the several answers like that. What is the problem? Yeah, you have to start like that. Here you in the picture you can see these things. The funnel. Initially you have to start with a general, broad sense of the research area. Then you have to come to your specific to your problem. What you have. So what is the problem? What are any existing solution? Are there any existing solution? Which one is the best? And what is the main limitation of those solutions? And how do you hope to improve or contribute to this? So here you have to give basic general introduction of the research problem. Then you have to give the existing solutions and their limitation or drawbacks, or which is the research gap. You have to find mainly the research gap or limitations where, and then you have to identify that you can improve on that area. So it comes at your specific that your work is going to do these things. So here you can see like one introduction part it is given. The beginning, it is a general idea. Yeah. Then second, it is thus the challenge exists to develop a more efficient practical, second highlighted one, practical immobilized technique that allows highly active metal nanocrystals to be exposed and fixed onto easy to handle matrices. Now you have to see these things, what you are going to do. at the last of the introduction, you have to see in your study what you are proposing. So here it is in the present study, the on-paper synthesis like that you have to do. So you should start with a general, and then you will do the literature review, what the others have done, what others have given the solution. You have to give a proper citation. Don't repeat their works. Just give the proper citation of that, and then give the where you want to improve it and how you are giving that things. This is the introduction part you have. Now comes to the methods and experimental sections. Here you have to mention everything, the research methodology, how you are going to do the research or the whatever experimentation you are required. So it includes all important details so that the reader can repeat the work. Here it is there. You have to give the details of the method so that if any future researcher, the other researchers, they want to repeat that things, they can do that things. So details that were previously published can be omitted, but a general summary of those experiments should be included with proper citation. You have to give proper vendor names, what type of instrument or equipment you are using, or if you are using the software, what type of software you have used, because these are the proprietary kind of things. Yeah. So if you are using chemicals, then you have to also give the chemical must be identified, what type of chemicals you have. Do not use proprietary unidentifiable compounds without description. So present proper control experiments, how you do that things, avoid adding comments and discussion. Consider use of supplementary materials if requires, like documents, spreadsheets, audio, video, whatever it is required. So these portions is the second most important area where you are going to proposing your methodology and you are doing your experiments. This is one example. It is given what I told you in this, the different type of materials they are using, and here it is what the others have done, like according to a previous report. You need not to give a details of the report, so you can give a just proper citation. This is the citation number 7. It is given. Now the results. You have defined the problem, you have developed the methodology, and you have done the experiments. Now you have got the result. So what you have found, that you have to give it to the audiences. So this is the driving force of publication. Tell a clear and easy to understand story. Here you have to give. You have to give whatever, because you have done a lot of work. It does not mean that everything you can put in a 4 pages or 5 pages. It cannot be. Whatever research work you have done it. If you are doing PhD, you have the kitchen sink. You have the kitchen sink. That is your thesis. You can put all those things in your thesis. But in the paper, you have to be very specific, which are the main findings. Only those things you have to. So you have to understand the importance of the findings. Only the main findings will be reported in the journal, so that will be attracted by the reviewer and the readers. So the main findings, that's not all findings. Findings from experiment described in method sections, whatever you have discussed in the methodology. So what we have got it. So highlight findings that differ from the just things as well. You have to highlight the findings that differ from findings in previous publication. So we have to compare these things that others have achieved these things, but our proposed methodology is getting better accuracy, like that. If they are getting like 80% accuracy, our is getting 85% accuracy, like that. Or if it is unexpected findings, like that, a new kind of things you have to say. And you have to do the results of the statistical analysis again. Now, figures and tables, these are most important. Yeah, these are very critical, because figures and tables are the most efficient way to present results. Captions and legends must be detailed enough to make figures and tables self-explanatory. You have to give captions and legends, and which will clearly tell what the results are. No duplication of results described in the text or other illustration. Suppose you have described in the text or in the table, you should not either make it in the table or in the graph like that, something, or only one place you should give it. Don't duplicate, don't give that same result in the table as well as in the graph. So here it is showing that the one picture is worth 1,000 words. So you should use these things. So there are the figures, the appearance counts, how your figures are like that. Uncrowded plots, 3 or 4 data sets per figure, well selected scales, appropriate axis, label size, symbols clear to read, data sets easily distinguishable, text in the photos and figure in English that should be legible also. Each photograph must have a scale marker of professional quality in a corner. Use color only when necessary. Yeah, color must be visible and distinguishable when printed in black and white also. Do not include long boring tables. So these things you should take care of during your manuscript writing. You can see here the results. This is a single graph, 2 graphs are there. So these are the legends are there. It is given in the legends, like the with colors, and it is the scaling is there also. 0 to the, you can say y-axis 0 to 100 and x-axis also 0 to 25, and this legend x-axis labeling is, it is clearly mentioned what it is. Like in the x-axis in the first graph, it is a total lipid concentration and the unit is also given, and here it is given entrainment efficiency. What is the efficiency also it is given. So what the y-axis and what the x-axis it is. So most of the cases we have seen when the researchers, mainly the research scholar, first time they are presenting it, they don't make these things so seriously, and it should be like that. Different if it is inside the figure, you should label it properly. Where exactly it is by giving the arrow. So these things you should take care for your presentation, writing paper. Now this is the another important area, discussion. What do the result mean? Where most of the researchers, specifically the beginners, are very poor, and maximum manuscripts are rejected because of this poor discussion. They have just give the results that this has got, but they don't know how to explain that things. What is the significance of those things? So here you have to get the chance to sell your data. As I told you, many manuscripts are rejected because of discussion is weak. You have to keep it in mind that the discussion should be in detail, that the readers, the reviewers should understand what the figure is saying, what you have understood from that, how you are explaining that thing. So check for the following: how do your results relate to the original question or objectives outlined in the introduction section? Do you provide interpretation? So you have to interpret each of your results which is presented in the tabular form or in the graphical one, pictorial one. Are your results consistent with what other investigators have reported, or are there any differences? If there are differences, you have to explain why these differences come. You cannot say that I have done this, so I got this. The others have done in the other way and you got it. So why you got this result, you have to explain it. And what are the limitations? Because this limitation will, because it's not like that your work is the optimal one. Yeah. So does the discussion logically lead to your conclusion? All those things. do not make statements that go beyond what the results can support. Suddenly introduce new terms or ideas. You should not do these kind of things. Only whatever the result is there, you just give that explanation. Don't give any statement that this would be done or like that, and later you will not be, your results will not be given support to your statement. Now comes to the conclusions. Again, it do not summarize the paper. It is already done in your abstract. So present what you have shown and what it means for the field. That you have to conclude what you have achieved. Suggest future directions of research so that if other researcher wants to do what, they should get some idea in which way they will go. Or if you are also doing, you should mention it. Avoid bold judgment about impact. You don't know exactly as a research is going on, it is not established completely, so you cannot give a bold judgment that this will happen. Now references, get them right. After conclusion, this is the references sections. Cite the main scientific publication on which your work is based. And different journals have different citations, referencing styles. So please go to the guide for authors. There it is clearly mentioned. The spelling of author names, the year of publication, punctuation use. You should be very careful on those things. At the end, you can suggest some potential reviewers also. Some journals, they ask for potential reviewers. Yeah, you can suggest the potential reviewers, but don't give your own known persons only. They may not give the papers to them also. So you can go through the references and find out. And it should be the reviewer must be internationally reputed or from a very good institution. So don't give collaborators' names or friends' names. This is, you can see, initial, so you have written the papers, completed, and you have right now submitted the papers to the journal. Now, first case, what it may happen that initial editorial review or desk reject, it is called. Many journals use a system of initial editorial review. May reject a manuscript without sending it for review. You can see that things you have submitted today, and after today in the like Thursday you have submitted, and next Monday you have received the decision of your paper. That means you have to expect that your paper is rejected because the initial, the chief editor or like the associate editor, they have read it and they have just rejected it. So why this rejection is it is a disservice to ask reviewers to spend time on work that clearly does not fit that particular journal or that has evident deficiency. If your journal, if your manuscript is not fitting within the scope of that particular journal, they will immediately reject it. Or if your abstract and just by quick glance, they can find that your manuscript has not sufficient evidence for your results, then for your claim or contribution, what you are claiming, they will reject it. They don't want that the reviewer will review it as a substandard papers. So the peer review system is grossly overloaded, and editors wish to use reviewers only for those papers with a good probability of acceptance only. So you can find this kind of the first decision accepted or rejected. Accepted, it may be very rare, but it happens. But most of the cases, it will come as either rejected or revision. Then the revision is having again two types, minor revision and major revision. Then this is a probability 40 to 90% rejected. Do not despair. It happens to everybody. Try to understand why your paper is rejected. If the paper is rejected, the reviewer has to give sufficient reason and give the idea where you are lacking, why your paper will not be accepted. As a reviewer, I can accept the paper very easily. I can say that these are the contributions, the researchers have done this good work, it is well, like that. But if I go to reject the paper, then I have to specifically mention what are the deficiencies of the papers. And if your paper in a good journal is rejected, you will get a lot of review comments which will guide you for your right path of research. Yeah. So then if it may happen that the paper what you have submitted is not suitable for that particular journal, the reviewer may give you some suggestion that the other kind of journal will be good for this type of manuscript, and after revision you can submit that thing. So you will get a better acceptance chances in that journal after revising these things. Or minor revision, it is generally accepted. Major revision, again, it will go through details of that things. All the reviewers will do that thing. So publication ethics, I am not going to tell already. Professor Tripathi has said the publication ethics in details. So don't break the ethics rule. Otherwise, you will publish, but you will be perished. This is it. And there is a single ethics standard for science. These are the things what you have to be very careful: falsification of result, data fabrication, inappropriate identification of co-authors. This is most important. What you was just duplicate submission, duplicate publication, conflict of interest. All those things are most important. So how you will like corresponding authors and who will be the co-authors, and how you have to give the acknowledgement. Those who have not contributed at all, acknowledgement you should give. Others, what will be the corresponding often a senior author, like your supervisor or you, the researcher said, and all the co-authors who are involved in the work, they have been given significant contribution. And those who are indirectly, they were associated with your work, you can give it them as acknowledgement. Yeah. And here you will, all co-authors sign on the take responsibility and credit of the entire manuscript. Change to authorship after submission are strongly discouraged. Most of those who are very good journal, they will not accept once you have submitted the paper. So before submission, you should be very careful about who are the authors. Yeah, like these are the things. Abuses to avoid ghost authorship. Here, sometimes those who have contributed, you should not omit them. You should include them. Or gift authorship, those who have not done anything, don't give them the contribution. Acknowledgement, who have done these things. So this is all about how you will write your manuscript, and you can publish in a good journal. Yeah. So I'll thank you for listening,
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful presentation. So if anyone has any questions, you can just ask directly, probably. We have time. Sir, I have a question regarding predatory journals. How can we identify if any journal is a predatory one?
Yeah, predatory journal, you can find that different lists are there, fake journals and predatory journals list will be there. So from different, like in our India, UGC has their list that these are the predatory journals. Yeah. So go through the journals. If they are good journals are mainly by good publication houses. Yeah. Or some society like your in case of like Elsevier, you are having those journals who are published by Elsevier. They are not predatory journal or fake journal, like Springer, like Wiley, yeah, like Taylor Francis, or even the society like IEEE, IET, and Computer Society, or several like our medical society in IME journal. There are different journals, society based. But there are some journals those who are open access from different small publications house. They are just for the making money. They are doing. These are you should go through the journals itself. That's why I'm saying that you should go to the journal, and before submitting the journal, go to the details of journal. And now lot of things are available in the internet. You should go to the internet and survey it before publication, and your supervisor will tell you also, the fellow researchers also, you will get. Nowadays there's a lot of information available, specifically your fellow researcher in the same field and your supervisor or like that, they can tell you that which journals are predatory and where to submit.
So we have a question from Dr. Vijaya. She wants to know, she has submitted an article to a journal which is not PubMed, but it proclaims so. After acceptance, she realized that it cannot be published. So can she get it published in another journal?
She should withdraw it. First, you have to write a letter to the editor, chief editor, that this is the reason I am withdrawing my paper. Once you withdraw the paper, then only you can submit into the other journal. Otherwise, there will be ethical breaks.
At times, we submit the copyright initially only. At the time of submission, they ask for the copyrights. And then probably because of some reason, like the same mentioned here, we want to withdraw. Can we do that?
Yes, yes. You can ask for withdrawal. And you have to give the certain reason that these are the reason. I am withdrawing my papers. Most of the good journals, they generally, once your acceptance comes, then only they give you the copyrights. Before, I don't think the good journals, they will ask you the copyright form at the time of submission. Yeah. After acceptance, you have to, that's why, that if you, before publication, we should be very careful on that.
So Dr. Wrinkle Sharma, she wants to know, how can we get our research papers automatically reflected in Google Scholar?
Google Scholar. So the Google Scholar automatically it will not come. I think you have to add. You can go to the Google Scholar. Yeah, you have to add. You can search the papers there in your name, in your personal profile, Google Scholar profile. Once it will come, you should add them simply. Or there is an option that automatically add. It will come automatically add. That is not a problem. So my advice is that don't go for lower category journals. Initially, those who are doing PhD, I will suggest that submit your initial work within 1 year or like that, even before your registration seminar. Most of the cases, if you have done work a little bit, submit it to a good journal, let it be rejected. Don't expect that it will be accepted. If they will reject it, they will give some idea to you which will help you to make your research thesis more strong. Then you publish it some other places. So it's not like that rejection will be just a frustration, not like that. And in my case, the first paper I have submitted in a very good journal. They rejected it. 5 reviewers are there. In IEEE, there are 5 reviewers. So think of that. And 5 reviewers, 2 reviewers, 1 reviewer rejected fully. The others reviewers accepted, 2 reviewers accepted minor level, and 3 reviewers accepted. And they have given some suggestion that this paper will be suitable to other journals. So I do little modification and then submitted to that journal. That journal, just with minor revision, it is accepted. So don't think that like that. You should not get frustrated. So anything else?
The one more question is there. If one obtains a copyright first on new classification system and then publishes it as a scientific manuscript, then who will have the copyright, journal or the author who copyrighted it first?
And copyright, generally copyright either it will be with the publishing house or with the authors. You cannot publish yourself now. It will be published by some publishing house. So when we submit the copyright form, we sign the copyright form, just like IEEE, we are signing the copyright form and the IEEE is having the copyright. We don't have the copyright. Because IEEE, they will sell those papers to their subscriber and they will earn the money from that. So that because they will keep it their server. But in open access, what we are saying, in open access journals, we are paying, the authors are giving the processing charge. So they are keeping our journal papers, journal articles in their server. Yes, and in open access, you will get, even the IEEE, like that big journals are also having open access, but they cost more. Springer or Elsevier, they are also giving some journals open access, so that the copyright will be with you. And the more, since it will be open access, you will get more cited. People will, anyone can have the access to the paper.
I hope your question is answered, Himanshi. So we don't have any more questions, sir. So we would like to thank you on behalf of all the organizers. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So we'll end the session for today and we'll meet again tomorrow at the same time. So thank you, everyone.
Okay.